Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nashville Cavemen podcast. I am your host, Damo Unleashed. This is where we talk about everything from family matters to also finances. And I got a very special guest today, and we're going to go ahead, roll out the red carpet. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know what it is that you do, and we're going to go ahead and have a discussion. So the floor is yours.
Cool. All right. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate the honor of coming on your podcast. My name is Chris. I am a couple different things in life. I'm a financial planner. I help a lot of my cousins, family members, friends, and everything build generational wealth, financially emancipate themselves from poverty, and basically separate themselves from this system that's unfortunately keeping a lot of our people, a lot of Americans in general, in debt. So by trade, I'm a mechanical engineer. I have an MBA. I'm a citizen of the world. I've lived and worked all over the world. I build currently for my, career. I built billion-dollar projects for the federal government for private developers. And I help people essentially, financially emancipate themselves from poverty through my podcast, Financipation, through my Spotify, Financipation, through my YouTube channel, Financipation, as well as through my financial literacy business, Financipation as well. So happy to be here. Thoroughly enjoy coming on here and discussing financial matters with our people, because it's a misnomer that says Black people don't like finances, when I know for a fact that's not true. So I'm happy to come on here and hopefully share my knowledge to the world when it comes to financial matters.
You know what, Chris? One thing I noticed, and I'm gonna speak for myself also. A lot of times, man, we think that we have all this time, and we do not plan financially for not only the future, but even for death. You know, a lot of us, man, when it comes to funerals, something that I found out, you can actually plan for your funeral and have it already paid for and covered right now. You don't have to actually wait till it happens. But we don't like to talk about stuff like that. So what advice would you have for somebody that don't know where to start when it comes to anything financial?
Got you. Well, the first thing I would say is definitely reach out to me. You can book a one-on-one session with me, and I'll just kind of walk you through, my financial system. If you want to get some free knowledge, go to YouTube and check out my podcast, Financipation, Finanicpation, Financipation. And from there, you're going to literally get for free things that I spent $120,000 to learn in grad school. I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest with you, of financial planners, because I think a lot of the guys that are out here, I went to school with some of them, for lack of a better word, they're selling you risky dreams and selling you financial garbage with the idea that if you keep coming back to them, it's going to basically help their commissions. I like to basically teach people a system where they basically save their money, and they essentially invest money correctly, literally for decades and everything. So if a person were coming to me and they basically say, okay, Chris, I have no money and I don't really know where to start. I don't know who to listen to, what channels to listen to, and things like that. The first thing I would tell them they need to establish a budget. And by establishing a budget, I would tell them to go to Microsoft Excel, if they're tech savvy, and create a spreadsheet of, okay, this is how much money I spend to wine and dine women every month. This is how much money I spend for my car insurance. This is how much money I spend for student loans. This is how much money I spend for alcohol. This is how much money I spend for rent or whatever. And then from there, determine, okay, this is how much money I'm spending. How much money am I saving? How much money am I making? So you need to find out how much money you're making, and then compare the amount of money that you're basically sending out the door every month. And after you do that, I would tell you need to have a 3 to 6. From there, you could establish essentially what your expenses are. And you can, from your expenses, you can establish, okay, this is my budget. And once you establish what your expenses are, you should essentially go about creating a 6-month emergency fund, 3 to 6 month emergency fund. For some people, their expenses every month are, let's say, $5,000 a month. That means a 3-month emergency fund for that person would be $15,000 a month. And their 6-month emergency fund obviously would be $30,000 a month. For some people, their expenses are $2,000, so their 3-month emergency fund would be $6,000, and their 6-month emergency fund would be $12,000. From there, if the person is working in corporate America and they have some kind of corporate job, I would tell them that you need to invest into your employer's 401k match. Gotcha. So the reason why I say that is quite simple. If I were to walk up to you on Christmas Day and I said, give me $10,000.
Right.
And on Thanksgiving next year, I would give you $20,000. Would you take that deal?
In a heartbeat. Without
Exactly. And that is essentially, people, what the 401k matches if you're in corporate America. If you have a corporate job and they said we match the first $5,000 you put into your 401k, If you put $5,000 into that 401k, by law, your company is legally obligated to put an extra $5,000 into your 401k. So you just made $5,000 for free. That $10,000 analogy that I just gave earlier, people are doing that people are not doing that rather every year, and they are costing themselves literally free money. So those are the first two steps I'll tell you. I would say get a budget. I would say invest into your employer's 401k. And the last step I'll tell you is this. People, you got to get serious about your financial knowledge as far as, okay, what products work and what products don't work. There is so much free knowledge that's out here currently on Google, YouTube, financial podcasts, things like that. And if you don't know where to go, once again, people, go to my podcast, Financipation, because I literally walk you through what is an index fund, what is an exchange traded fund, why Forex sucks, and why it's specifically marketed to Black people, why things like cryptocurrency are not something that you want to invest your long-term investments into because of the tremendous amount of risks that go into it. I talk about all those concepts on Financipation. And when I do my one-on-one sessions with people, I essentially walk them through the time-honored 0.01% types of investments that the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts did to essentially build, and what the Rockefellers did to build and ultimately keep their money. Those are the kind of things that I talk about. What I don't talk about is pay me this amount of money, and every month I'm going to teach you how I'm going to invest your money for you. And then you have to keep coming back to me or whatever. So I keep taking your money. And that's the problem that I have with the current financial system. A lot of financial planners you go to, they'll make all these promises to you about how much money they're going to make you. And then when you actually run the numbers, 96% of them lose money for their clients over the long haul. The system that I have does not do that. So that's the advice that I'll give them, that I'll give your listeners.
Okay, so what is your thought on people that want to invest into metals like gold and silver? Is that something valuable?
Right. It's a hedge against inflation and things of that nature. Let me ask you a question. If you could invest into something and it gave you on average a 5% return on your investment, is that better than the 0.01% investment that the bank gives you?
Oh, I'd rather have the 5%. Of course.
Exactly. So all right, cool. So gold is about, let's say gold averages about 5% over the last 100 years. If I could show you an investment that instead averaged 12% over the last 75 years,
of course you want to invest 12%.
Would you want to invest at 12%?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my take on gold. It's not good. It's not bad. It's somewhere in the middle. It's a hedge against inflation. Obviously, if for lack of a better word, shit hits the fan, you want to essentially have some kind of gold bullion or something like that. Basically, some kind of gold to basically buy and sell bread if it really gets that bad. But at the end of the day, to me, there are better investments than precious metals. Having said that, precious metals are a vastly better investment, historically speaking, than throwing your money into Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, or whatever, and then getting that 0.01% interest. I guess is how I can answer that question if it makes sense.
Okay, I got you. What about people who like to do multiple investments? Do you advise that, or are you against that? Or what do you say for people like that?
So I look at it this way. It depends what your multiple investments are. I think a person that invests into their health is an investment. I work out 5 days a week. I got offers to boxing, to kickboxing, to do, and to fighting cages professionally. So your body is your number one temple when it comes to making wealth. So I consider that an investment. I consider investing into the stock market an investment. You can do both of them at the same time. I consider investing into my employer's 401k match an investment. That's 3 investments I can literally do at the same time. I consider investing into my brokerage account at the same time. A percentage of my money every month in my brokerage account. That's 4 investments you can do every month at the same. You can do it at the same time. So I believe that it's possible to chew gum and walk at the same time. So yes, it's possible to invest in multiple things at the same time, but you have to do it in the right order. You have to do it in a coherent manner. I actually just dropped a podcast about 2 weeks ago called The Financial Order of Operations. If you check out my podcast, you'll see it. And I systematically break down, statistically speaking, what are the orders of operation you should go in regards to investing. And yes, it's very possible to invest in multiple things at the same time, but you should do it in a way that is not going to hurt you. You shouldn't, for instance, be maxing out an HSA account if your kids don't have food. If you ain't got no food in the house, so you can't pay your rent. Yeah. So there's different. There's a method to your madness. Essentially, you don't go to college before you graduate from high school. Essentially.
And you know what? When it comes to finances, I'm gonna be straight up honest. I am illiterate to it, but one thing I did learn, I learned that health is wealth. That none of this stuff really matter if you don't take care of health. So I'm
Yep.
glad that you said that. That was a journey of mine this year. I actually lost 75 pounds this year.
Congratulations.
Hey,
Congrats.
thank you, man. And I'm trying to go back to my high school weight. And I'm close to it. You know what I'm saying, brother? But you're right, man. Health is wealth. It don't matter if you a billionaire if you too sick to spend your money.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
I'm glad that you
You know
brought
what's
that
funny
up.
about that? I see so many guys, they end up spending all their health trying to get wealth. And then they turn around once they get their millions of dollars, once they get that $5 million nest egg, they have to turn around and spend all those millions of dollars to try to get their health back. It makes no
Yeah,
sense. People basically blow your health getting wealthy, and you have to spend all your money to get healthy again. That makes no sense. And a lot of, particularly here in the United States of America, a lot of people do that, unfortunately.
you know the sad part is, man, healthy food is almost double the price of. We were talking about this. Like you could go to the grocery store and get an avocado, and it'll cost you, man, much more than if you went to like a fast food chain
Yep.
and you got two burgers, a fry, a drink, and you like, well, how can I afford all this? Because a burger it has so many different things on it: tomato, lettuce, onion,
Yep.
ketchup. So you think about all the extras they have on it, on top of the patty and the bun, and you're like, how can I easily afford this? And then this avocado would feel like, man, I'm spending my life savings.
Yep. It's all by design. It's all by design. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a reason why you have food deserts in the inner cities. You have food deserts to some extent in like the
Yeah,
trailer parks. I mean, there's a reason why. It's to keep. I think full disclosure, everybody. I think capitalism is the greatest form of government humans have ever created.
I agree.
I do think that at the end of the day, America has nearly 23 million Americans are millionaires. To put that in perspective, that means 1 out of every 12 people that the average person sees is wealthy. So that means the person you sit next to on the bus is probably a million, and the person you hoop and play basketball is probably a million. The girl, that pretty girl you see at church who's married, she's probably a millionaire. That dude
Yeah,
that you see basically lifting weights at the gym, he's probably a million. You'll literally never know it. So
yeah,
capitalism is the greatest form of government. I think America is the greatest country in the world when it comes to building wealth. But the thing about it is that in order for capitalism to work, you have to have a working class of, for lack of a better word, stupid, unhealthy people. And
yeah.
by stupid, I don't mean like they're unintelligent. I mean they're financially illiterate. So
Right.
America does a very good job, essentially, of teaching the haves how to invest their money and teaching the have-nots how to work really hard, how not to invest their money, how to eat shitty food. And that's what our
Right.
country does. Like you said, it makes no sense that 2 avocados cost $8, but you can go to McDonald's and get the dollar menu and get trash food for $3. That's by
Yeah.
design, people. It's by
Yeah.
design.
And actually, you probably could go there and get enough food to feed two or three people. And then it makes me wonder if they're cloning it, but that's for a whole nother discussion.
You're right.
Um,
You're right.
something that I did in my family is we started having, I think I told you about this. We started having financial meetings, meaning
Yep.
that every Tuesday we'll sit amongst each other and we'll have financial planning. So one of the things that we want to go ahead and get into is actually buying more land. I stay in Nashville, Tennessee, and regenification is on steroids here. Everything is expensive. A gallon of orange juice is $7. That's how serious it has gotten. Most young people coming out of high school up until 25 years old, if they're going to buy an apartment, they have to at least be having like it's going to cost them 2,100, 2,500, and that's for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. So with my children, I told them do not leave the house, stay home, work, save your money, and just go buy land. Um, what can you tell us about that as far as like, do you have anything as far as housing? Any advice as
Yeah.
far as housing land or
So I'll say this. So historically speaking, there's been three ways people have typically built wealth in America, in Africa, in Egypt, and Asia, Australia. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. There's been typically three ways people have historically built wealth. One was some version of the stock market. Some version of, okay, you have a good idea. I want to buy a portion of your business, and then you're going to do all the hard work, and you're going to pay me money, a small percentage of it. Historically speaking, that's one way. I'm going to call that the stock market. The second way people historically have made money is they started businesses. So if you go to ancient Africa, if you go to China, if you go to Europe, if you go to the Americas, typically speaking, people that started businesses were typically more successful than the people who worked at those businesses. And I don't care what color, I don't care what country or culture you're from. That's generally the second form of ways people build wealth. And the third was land. And it's interesting because you take a look at the history of slavery and Jim Crow in this country. What were the three things they stopped black? Well, there were a couple things they did to stop black people from building wealth. Three of them were they didn't let you buy property or land, or if they did, they would kill you. And two, if you try to essentially start a business, what would they do? They would Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, or Florida and burn it down.
Yeah.
And the stock market, blacks, we historically have not particularly got into that because it was never truly marketed to our people until people like myself and some other brothers started showing up and started telling black people how to actually do it. So land is a phenomenal investment, period. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care whatever, whether you're a crypto gal, whether you're an index fund guy like myself, whether you're an ETF person, whether you're a stock market guru, whether you're a day trader or whatever. Land is one of the best investments you can make for one very simple reason. God makes more people, but he does not make more land. So essentially, you can literally buy property, hold that thing for 25 years, give it to your grandkids, give it to your kids, and then Bill Gates or Bill Gates' daughter, Febby Gates, or Bill Gates' granddaughter is going to show up one day and say, I want to build a data center right there. When you bought that land, it costs, say, $300. Say it costs $200 an acre. Well, 25 years from now, it's going to be $2,000 an acre. So you just basically generational wealth into your family. So land is one of those things I think black folks was kind of starting to come around to. At the end of the day, who wants to buy a cornfield with nothing in it that's 75 miles from the nearest city? But if you do that, eventually at some point, they're going to want to try to build a data center there, a strip mall, a housing development, some kind of vacation resort. So if you can get your hands on some good land, I think that's definitely something you should add to your portfolio. I don't think it should be 100% of your portfolio, but it should definitely be a percentage of it.
Yeah, because the reason why that discussion has taken place in my household, because for right now, even when we close on our house, it's 2:30. Now in a year, and we closed when it was during COVID. So you could imagine how crazy that whole experience was. Fast forward a year, our house went up $100,000, and now it's up to $150,000. And the way they're building in Nashville, it's probably going to be at $500,000. And my is, and and I love sharing these thoughts. As I told my daughters, rather than buy a $200,000 house here, why don't you just go ahead and take the money that you're saving and buy acres of land? Even if me and my wife, we're talking about this, going ahead and selling our house and building a house on that land. A duplex, actually. So if my daughters wanted to stay in one half, if we wanted to live in the other half, that'd be better. And then as they get married, they don't have to go out and look for land. They're actually going to probably get a guaranteed loan because, for one, they own the land, and they're probably going to get better interest. And they can just build right on that land and so forth and so on. So that's been kind of the conversation that we've been having in my household.
I think it's a great conversation to have, and I think that more Black Americans, more minorities, more Americans in general, those are the kind of conversations we need to be having. I love how you say you basically build, I think you said a duplex. You live in one side, your daughter lives in another. I would say make it a triplex. You live in one side, your daughter lives in another, and then you basically put a tenant that makes more money than both of y'all in that third house, and they pay the rent for the other three. So those are the kind of conversations that the wealthy have. And once again, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm giving you this is for entertainment purposes. I have an MBA. I've done this for 20 years. So you can ignore me if you want to. I know what my wife and I's portfolio looks like. I know how we have quadrupled our wealth. So what I'm telling you, I know that it works, but you do your own research for it and you figure it out for yourself. But what you just got done describing, that's the way the wealthy get money. It's as simple as that. They'll buy a house, they'll put their kids in it, or they'll buy a house, they'll put a tenant in it. They'll buy a house and they'll put a tenant and their children in it, and then basically have the tenant pay their children's rent or pay their children's mortgage. I know people that do that kind of thing. Imagine
you know what? Not to cut you off, but I'm glad that you said that because I wasn't even thinking about the tenant part. And you're absolutely right. If I was to build a triplex, and have the tenant pay that, then my children's with their money can go toward just, the bills and whatnot. But in the retirement, then it gives them more room to have money to invest into the retirement part, which is actually really, really smart. I wasn't even something about that.
And something too, I want to kind of go back to. You asked me a little earlier about just financial advice. Let me ask you a question. Are you married?
Yeah, 24 years.
Oh, congrats! That's a blessing. I need to get some. Definitely, I love seeing married men like yourself. So if you
It's
give
a
me any
business
advice,
too. It's a business too. People talk about love. You know, my daughter even said this. She said, nowhere in the vows does it say anything about happiness. 23 years old. And I was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. It is to pass on, you know, a legacy and make sure that you leave behind better people than your parents left behind. And so I just want them to be thinking people, because a
yep.
lot of this information, it don't come from our households, it don't come from schools. So
Nope.
we just out here lost. And unless you're on the path, like I'm guessing, I don't know a lot about your background, but it sounds like at least with your career path, it led you on the path to where you started thinking in terms of 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah. So my career path, I'm the only one that looks like me 99% of the places that I go. You can go to certain parts of quote unquote Miami and say the black engineer, they're gonna know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm the only one. So when you're the only one, you stand out, obviously. But on top of that, you have to be on your P's and Q's about everything, because whether you want to admit it or not, we are unfortunately held to a higher standard in regards to certain things. Certain mistakes that my coworkers make, if I make that, they'll get a slap on the wrist, I'll get fired. So because of that, I was always trying to figure out, okay, if I'm thinking about engineering or how to basically become the best engineer that I possibly can, I also need to put my own financial career in my hands. And this is how you know things are kind of crazy. I'm not gonna say the name of the engineering firm, but I worked for an engineering firm. This was before I finished grad school and got my MBA. And I had been investing for about 10 years into a fund that when I actually truly understood how finances worked, I was like, how in the world could a financial advisor advise me to invest into that fund when it was such crap? I mean, absolute trash. The return on investment for it was about 4%. The expense ratio was about 0.7%. If you know anything about the expense ratio, that's extremely high. So I thought to myself, how is it that this financial advisor who does not look anything like me would tell me to do such a horrible investment? When I started really understanding the way the game worked, I completely I stopped using financial advisors, but I stopped investing to that fund and I invested into something else. So for my career as an engineer, yes, I'm very good with numbers, obviously. So I started learning this stuff on my own, and grad school obviously helped. And that to me is the missing step. That's why I say, as human beings, as Americans, we got to get serious about our finances and understand how this thing works. And if you don't know how it works, once again, people, I can walk you through it, and it's not challenging. It's not hard. So let me ask you a question. Your daughter, how much do you think she would spend for, I don't know, let's just say a two-bedroom condo in Nashville? How much do you think that would cost?
A two-bedroom condo in Nashville?
A two-bedroom apartment. Let's keep it easy. A two-bedroom apartment. How much would it cost in Nashville?
Easily $2,200.
All right, cool. So let's say just to make the math easy, let's say it was $2,500. Let's say it was down closer to downtown Nashville, slightly nicer area. Let's say it was $2,500. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't say downtown Nashville, brother. Now,
right,
you
so
talk about downtown Nashville. We're talking about good 3,000 easy.
How much?
3,000. We got studio apartments. We have studio apartments here that are $3,500.
Got you. All right, so let's say it's $3,000. All right, let's say $3,000. Let's say your daughter instead, let's say your daughter instead, she decides to live somewhere. So say she gets married and her and her husband, they put their finances together. They decide to live in a place that only costs $2,000 a month in Nashville. So she's saving how much? $1,000 a month, right?
Right.
Got you. So let's say she was saving $1,000 a month every month. And let's say she got with a person like me, and I basically walked her through how she could invest into something that had an expense ratio of 0% and it had a return on her investment of 10%. And let's say your daughter and your son-in-law lived in this apartment for 3 years, 36 months. And let's say they essentially invested their money. They invested an extra $1,000. How much money do you think they would have after 3 years of basically downsizing their life a little bit?
About 3 times as much as they would have had if they hadn't.
Okay. So by downsizing their life, they would have made approximately, over that 36-month period, they would have made approximately $45,000 over 3 years. Now,
you know what? Soon as we get off of here, I need to send my daughter to you right now. I'm dead
exactly.
serious.
This is the power of compound interest. And you know the beautiful thing about it, I only say it for 36 months. Let's say your daughter and your son-in-law, let's say your daughter, she figured out a way to, instead of only basically saving that $1,000 a month, or I'm gonna say investing that $1,000 a month, let's say she instead figured out a way to invest $2,000 a month, but instead of doing it for 3 years, she did it for 20 years. How much money do you think she would have?
Shoot, well, we were talking about 3 years, 45. Man, we're talking about 45. I had to get a calculator. It's up in the thousands, and I'm talking about a couple 100,000.
$160,000.
Wow.
So let's say we bump up a little bit more.
So now we're talking about 250, 300,000.
No. Let's say she just investing $2,100 a month for 20 years. How much do you think that would be? $1.5 million. And that's with an annual percentage yield, or APY, of only 10%.
Oh,
this
wow.
is the kind of thing. Now, your daughter's 23 years old. Now, let me back up a little bit further. Right. Let's say you started this brokerage account for your daughter when she was 3 years old. Right. So let's say you can tell your little girl when she was 23, she graduated from college, she's studying nursing, and she finished engineering, or she finished IT school or anything, and she's basically about to go into her medical practice, going to med school. You say, baby, when you turn 3 years old, daddy started a $1,000 brokerage account for you. And I worked my balls off, and every month daddy put $2,000 into your account. So this is my gift to you at 23 for graduating from college. I'm giving you $1.5 million.
Whoa.
This is the way that, I hate to say this is the way that our friends, the white folks who live on the other side of the tracks, are able to build generational wealth, because they understand that if they start these things early and they start investing, they essentially are going to put their children in a completely different socioeconomic status than we can. And let's say you say, Chris, okay, I don't got $2,000 to invest every month. All right, cool. Let's say you invest $500 a month every month until your daughter's brokerage account. The day she's born, you put $500 every month into it. 20 years later, your little girl would have close to $375,000.
Man,
now book a one-on-one session with me, and I can tell you which funds to invest into and things of that nature, and how you should invest your own money, and what essentially works for what has worked for my family and myself. But this is the kind of knowledge, like I said, that our people aren't learning. I never heard this stuff when I was hooping and playing AAU in the hood. I never heard this stuff when I was playing basketball or growing up. I never heard this stuff at track practice or football practice or basketball practice. We don't talk about this stuff in the hood. And we also don't talk about it at church. But compound interest is literally the eighth wonder of the world. And that's something that our people don't know enough about. We don't understand the purpose of investing your money early. So when you ask me, Chris, how would I tell people to invest? The reason why I said start with that 3 to 6 emergency fund first, then go into their 401k balance and max it out to your investors 401k. The reason why I say is because it gives you a good seat to essentially start your financial journey. And from there, start investing incrementally a small portion of your incomes every month into the stock market. And if you do that, people, you literally are going to die with dignity and respect, and basically build your financial wealth and build your generational wealth. And that's the kind of stuff that I teach you on Financipation.
You know what? I need to get with you when we get off of here to have an even deeper conversation. I had my kids just saving money. Something like this is actually more beneficial to invest and have interest piling in on top of that money, because like the conversation that I have with my children is, if you start right now, okay, even for the people that come from poor families, if you start right now, by the time you're in your 40s, you got your health and wealth. Even if they made, let's say, $300,000, that's enough money to pay a house off, and then the rest of your life, all of your money is to pay your monthly bills and invest and forward until your golden years.
Yep. So, the average American makes $42,000 a year. I'm sorry, let me back up. The average Black American makes around $44,000 to $42,000 to $44,000 a year. The average American, when you factor in race, economic status, socioeconomic status, things of that nature, it's around $48,000 a year. So these investments aren't even taking into account when you get a Christmas bonus, or when you get death in the family and your grandmama leaves you $1,000, or you basically hit the lottery if you play the lottery. And I do not advise anyone to play the lottery. It's a fool's game. You can't do that. But let's say you come across some money or whatever. The numbers that they're talking about don't even take into account what happens when you get those surpluses of just money that kind of falls from heaven, if you want to call it that. And if the average American is making $48,000 a year, that means you literally, over the course of a 25-year working lifetime, are going to have over $1 million that comes your way. And if you're investing the way that I can teach you how to invest, people, you're going to retire with dignity and respect. You don't got to rely on the government. You don't got to basically rely on your grandmom. You don't got to rely on your boyfriend. You don't got to rely on your children that essentially retire. You can retire with dignity and respect. And this is the kind of thing, once again, that we don't talk about in our communities. And that's why I started Financipation, because I want to change that. Finance, med school is hard. Mechanical engineering is hard. Finance is not hard at all. It's easy. The problem is it's just never been taught to our people. And once you learn the rules of the game, you realize how simple it is, simple and effective, and basically slow and steady wins the race. People, you can become a millionaire. It's as simple as that.
So, Chris, let me ask you this, because when one of the things that I highlighted in my family is we all got life insurance. We all have life insurance, man. I'm like, I don't know how people GoFundMe is not life insurance. So my question to you is there a trust? Is there a trust fund, or is there a way that you could put that money in a trust to protect it? So say like if my children were to get married and then they get with somebody that wants to take half of that money, is there a trust fund out there or something that they could put that money in to protect it?
Yes, I would have to book a one-on-one session with me, and I kind of walk you through the way to do it. But yes,
okay.
Depending on the type of way you set up the trust, your partners or ex-wives, ex-husbands, they are not privy to that money, depending on what it is. Yes, I do agree that you want to protect your assets. We live in a manosphere feminism type society today. I don't think this is the podcast that me and you kind of go back and forth with that. I have very strong opinions about that.
I do too, man. Trust me, I understand.
God rest Kevin Samuels. He had a lot of knowledge. But I think that in general, people, you have to learn how to protect yourself and your finances. For the most part, I, for the record, am pro-marriage. My wife is the best thing ever happened to me. As a single man in Miami, I did it all. I'll leave it at that. But what I realized is that there's a certain level financially that you're not going to get to as a man if you don't find the right woman. It's just as simple as that. I don't really look at it. And 4 hands are better than 2, and 2 brains are better than 1. So that's my plug on marriage. Married people are 4 times more likely. Married people on average build 35 times more wealth than single people. So marriage is the ultimate wealth. That's the reason why when immigrants from Africa, India, Saudi Arabia, and Russia move to America, they stay married. That's the reason why a generation later, their kids have more money than our kids. It's because of marriage. Man, but having said that, you do have to protect yourself, and there are ways to do that, and trust are a way to do that, to protect yourself from gold diggers, essentially.
And you know what? I actually had this discussion with somebody. You know, we always talk about the community, the Black community especially, and I told somebody this: you're only as strong as the families. The families is what make the community. So the reason why our community is so behind is because we have so many broken families. You know, when I was talking about marriage, I wasn't talking about myself. I'm allergic to a divorce, man. You know what I'm saying? Like me and my wife, we get it. You know what I'm saying? The reason why we are in the state that we're at right now is because of broken homes. And so we've made it upon ourselves. Our kids, they look at it as weird to not have 2 parents in the house, because all of our kids are between me and my wife. So that's important. But I was just talking about from the perspective of them. One day I want them to get married, and women aren't opposed to having to deal with these same issues also. If they come to the table with a lot of assets, we see some of these bigger stars going to court and they're paying alimony to men. You know, they're paying assets.
Equality is a 2-way street now.
It sure is. So I'm asking in regards to my children that, you know, if you had answers for that, you know, which is good that you do.
Yeah, I can only just speak from a man's perspective because
Yeah.
I can't speak from a woman's perspective. I have no experience with that, nor will I ever. Simple as
Right.
that.
I got
From a
you.
man's perspective, I'll just say this. Generally speaking, fellas, don't lead with your wallet. One of the things I found extremely sexy about my wife was that when I started dating her in Miami, literally, I never told her the concept of money, the topic of money never came up ever, not one time. I don't think my wife actually knew what I made until the first place that we moved into. I had to write on the dotted line what my annual salary was and stuff like that. And my wife was fit, feminine, friendly, childless, and basically she could cook and she could clean. And she enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. So I married a traditional woman that was college educated and who came from who basically grew up in a household where she was taught to cater. She grew up in a different culture and grew up in a household where she was taught to essentially cater to a good man, and I was that good man. So to my fellas that are out here, I would just say try to find someone like that, a woman who's fit, feminine, friendly, childless, and who's essentially she comes from a background where she's perfectly comfortable being. She was raised to be a wife. Also, there's a spiritual component to it as well. I wanted a woman that had a relationship, for lack of a better word, with Jesus Christ. So this isn't a religious channel, but that was what I was looking for. And if you kind of find a woman who fits those things, that's when you can kind of start having the financial conversations with her. And like you were saying, I had financial conversations with my wife. I was like, okay, if we invest this amount of money into this fund with this expense ratio versus this fund with this year to date earnings rate, which one would you go with and why? Those are kind of, or let's read this book, The Total Money Maker. Let's read this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Let's read this book, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Let's read this book, Scholarships: The Golden Road to Financial Emancipation by Christopher Phelps. So we have financial date nights. And by doing that, I realized, okay, this woman she was not raised to be a gold digger. She was raised to be a wife. And that was just completely different from women in Miami, because in Miami, I can tell you this, they're not raised to be wives. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Oh, man.
That's kind of how I did it. Fellas, take your time and take care of your body, because a man is educated, who takes care of his body, who makes a lot of money. We are always going to have women in our lives. There are always going to be women trying to introduce themselves to you. So take your time and become the best version of yourself. And eventually you're going to find a woman who basically is worthy of you walking her down that aisle. That's the advice that I give men. To my ladies, I don't know. It's kind of a challenge, because with women, biologically, we don't have a clock. With my ladies, they do. And what I mean by that is that it's much easier as a 40-year-old man for me to pull, quote unquote, let's say a 23-year-old woman, than for a 40-year-old woman to pull a 23-year-old man. And on top of that, too, we factor in men that are homosexual, men that are retarded, men that basically that are broke, men that don't have a penis, men that are married, and men that are in prison. It's like 10 women for every one man. So for women, it's like a 90% chance that there are not going to be a lot of men for you. So for women, I would just say, once again, it goes back to what my wife was. She was fit, she was feminine, she was friendly, she was athletic, so she took care of her body. She is never going to get fat on me. She cooks, she cleans, and she was raised to basically be a wife. So what I'll tell my ladies is, be all those things. And when the right man approaches you, be those things for him. Don't be those things for this any Tom, Dick, and Harry loser that's out here. And eventually a brother's going to see you and to be like, okay, that woman was raised to be a wife. I'm going to approach her. That's the advice I can give women. But like I said, I'm not a woman, so I don't really, it's kind of hard for me to kind of, I guess, give them game, if you will. For guys, it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Because basically, in what my background, my dad raised me and 4 brothers. So he raised 5 boys by himself. My wife was the only child. And we basically had to kind of teach each other.
Right.
One quality, well, actually, it was 2 qualities that I seen in her, right? It was that very soft side. I've never seen her angry. I've never seen her in any, and coming from our backgrounds, that was phenomenal. Something else. She always put others before herself. Even till this day, she volunteers for the church. She always looks out. She works with children, and that's where she spends a lot of her free time. If I had to get up hours before she have to get up, she's going to get up with me and make sure that she'll cook breakfast and everything. And you know what I realized? When you got a woman to set a bar like that, it makes you want to be an even better man than what you are. So, energy that I normally wouldn't have for her, it's like, oh, no, I can't let her show me up. You understand what I'm saying? So it just actually helps you elevate. And that was it, man. 25 years, when we come around June, it's going to be real easy. I don't understand why people make marriage like it's all complicated. It's
not.
Okay, and it
I
isn't.
think I think too, a lot of guys, like I said, I'm only gonna speak from the men's perspective. If you're constantly watching content about women cheating on their husbands and cheating on their baby daddies, and you're constantly watching like stories and Instagram feeds and podcasts where women are just trashing men and men are trashing women, you're not gonna find anybody good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like eating junk food all day and then wondering why you're not building muscle. You literally are consuming garbage. So that's the thing. But like you were saying, my wife is the exact same way. It's just like I'll see the way that she acts when I'm mad. I'll see the way that she acts with our children. I'll see the way that she acts around our church. I'll see the way that she essentially acts when we bring up finances and stuff like that. Good, perfect example. A couple of days ago, there was a business concept that kind of came around. I told my wife we can do A, which I know she really wanted to do, or we could do B. And initially she wanted to do A, so I basically started running through the numbers with her really quickly and said, okay, if we do A, it's going to cost us about $29,000. If we do B, it's a little uncomfortable for a little bit, but this is going to make us $29,000. So which one do you want to do? And what was beautiful about it was when I did the calculation, my wife said, actually, Chris, you're wrong. It's going to save us $31,000.
Whoa, see,
the reason why, exactly. So when you find a woman like that, like I said, you don't got to worry about, okay, do I need to set up an irrevocable trust because she's a gold digger and she might try to sleep with my man's? Or when you find a woman like that, you don't got to worry about, okay, is this kid really mine? It's just kind of like women will reveal who and what they really are to you, fellas, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I truly believe that. Right. And if you're taking care of your body, if you're educated, if you're not out here doing stupid stuff to women, if you're not basically trashing them, eventually, like I said, you're going to meet a woman that was raised to be a wife. So honestly, watch the signs. At the end of the day, people can only fake who they really are for so long.
Right. And I always advise this too. Like when I got with my wife, I have a pot to pee in and a window to throw it out. So it wasn't like she was going to leave me or get with me for money. So it just made it that much easier. But for you guys that's already established, here's the advice I would have for y'all. Get a his and her, and I got this from my co-host on my podcast. Get a his and her prenup. Because why would she get mad at the prenup if you guys plan on actually being together for the rest of your lives? Yeah. If that's her goal, she's not going to get upset. Because she's going to be like, I'm going to be with this man for the next 30 years. I don't care about this prenup. So get a his and hers if you're already established.
Yeah, I think that you do have to, if you make, let's say, $500,000 more, you have assets, $500,000 more than your particular partner, or you're in a situation where you're a high income earner and they're not. I think it's only an adult. I think it's very mature to have that kind of conversation about if you want to do prenuptial agreements, things like that. Those are the type of conversations that adults have. If you have a house, she has a house, you don't want to move in her house, she doesn't want to move in your house. Those are the kind of conversations, okay, we're going to sell the house and buy a house together. Those are the kind of conversations that adults have to have. And as long as you're with another adult, they're going to realize those are the kind of conversations. You two mutually will come to a conclusion about how you should proceed. I truly believe that.
Yep. And essentially, you do need two people at the end of life. And it ain't just about money. It's about companionship too. You know? I don't want to be a burden to my kids, so I think I owe it to my children to, when they leave this house, that they are on a stronger foundation than when I left the house. And I think that you gotta, I feel like for me personally, I'm just gonna speak for myself. I feel like I have to lead my kids financially because the schools don't do it. I don't ever think why we even expect schools to do it. They don't teach about how to read a stock exchange or anything like that, or the stock market. They don't teach about credit, the importance of credit. Good, because there's good and bad credit, and they don't teach that. So I've had to not only teach myself and come across people like you who are, very smart and get what I can get and kind of pour it into my children. And you're right. I think it's just bad that no matter where we go, we don't have these conversations in barber shops. We don't have them in a lot of groups, a lot of places where we are. And so that's
when we do have them. And one thing I noticed when we do, not to cut you off, but one thing I noticed that when we do have them, I hate to say this, it's typically some really ignorant clown that has no idea what they're talking about, that tries to tell black people how to invest their money. I mean, literally I've met people literally live in the projects and they're trying to explain to me why I should get involved with Forex. And I'm like, you literally don't have if the government took your house from you, you literally don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And 90% of the people who invest into the garbage that you're investing into lose money.
Right.
100% of the people that invest the way that I'm telling them to invest, they don't lose money. But because this person or whatever, the individuals that are, like I said, in the hood, this is the kind of garbage they're running around telling each other. In the suburbs, it's kind of garbage running around telling each other. And we don't have these kinds of conversations. And the people who are the loudest and are talking the most, they are giving our people garbage. Like it's kind of sad. It really truly is. And that's why I wanted to have a conversation, because as a group of people, we gotta change the narrative as far as how we invest, what we invest into. Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. Those should be as prevalent in the Black community as the NFL and the NBA, but they're not. Index funds, ETFs, Roth IRAs, Roth IRA conversions, brokerage accounts. These are the kind of concepts that I want to start hearing at church. I want to start hearing in the hood. I want to start hearing in the barbershops, because I can tell you this: the immigrants that come to this country, that's how they eventually start talking. Eventually, they find a Hector or an Enrique or a Ryan or a Martin, or they find a Maria or whatever, and they start talking, having these type of conversations, and that's how they build wealth. They don't go to their broke friend who doesn't know anything. They don't go to their friend who basically filed for bankruptcy 9 times. And as a group of people, as Black folks, I want to kind of change that, because I want us to financially emancipate ourselves from poverty and start building generational wealth. It's as simple as that.
Well, you know what, man? I hope I have you on here again. And I think the next time I have you on here, I'm going to give you the whole floor, because what I want to create is I want to create where people who are, network with me, that now they have a direct line to you. And so I hope to bring as much traffic your way as possible. As a father, I understand the importance of finances, because I think a lot of things, man, like a lot of bad things as far as like experiences that turn into cycles, I think our lack of financial intelligence or education is one of those things.
Absolutely.
A lot of us don't want to do it. A lot of us really don't know where to start. And so this is a good start, putting somebody like you, and because like I said before, I'm illiterate when it comes to finances. So, there's a lot that I can gain and learn from you also. Okay.
Definitely.
So I'm going to have you back on here again. And I definitely want you to even broader, I know you got classes you set up, but I want you to tell people the first step of what they need to do as far as like when they get in contact with you, what's going to go on from there. Actually, I got about 10 minutes. I actually want you to, without having to teach anybody anything for free, but giving them these steps of where they can go to you and get what they need to get. I want you to tell them all steps.
Cool. All right. So first off, we live in the digital age. So I would say check out my website, www.therealfinancipation.com. You can basically check out some of my content there. You can find me on Instagram, @thereal_financipation. You can also check me out on Spotify, Financipation, because I have my podcast on there. TikTok, you can check me out on TikTok as well. I put up a lot of shorts and a lot of videos on Financipation. My page is called Financipation on TikTok. My Facebook page, you can find me on my Facebook tribe, Financipation. Basically send me an invite, I'll let you in and everything. And I have a YouTube channel as well, Financipation. From there, you can I spent $125,000 to get my MBA. And that's a whole nother story, how I got lied to by an employer and all that BS. I won't go into it here. I'll say this though, the same ish I learned in grad school, I'm giving it to you guys for free on YouTube. $125,000 education. I go over everything from investments. I go over everything from health savings accounts. I go over everything from Forex. I go over everything as far as crypto, as far as what not to do. I talk about what you should do. I talk about the kind of women you should be dating, the kind of women you should avoid. Ladies, I talk about the kind of scumbag guys you should avoid. I talk about how to send your kids to college essentially for free. I talk about how to basically improve your credit score. I talk about how easy it is to start a business. The thing about getting wealthy, everybody, is think of it like this. It's literally like planting a tree. And the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And if you didn't plant a tree 20 years ago, the best time to plant a tree is today. So start investing, everybody. It is literally the 8th wonder of the world as far as compound interest. And on Financipation, I teach you essentially how to financially emancipate yourself from poverty and how to build generational wealth. So check me out on Financipation, everybody. Like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram is the real_Financipation. You can find me there, okay? And I'll definitely come back on your show. We'll be doing this again for sure.
Hey, Christopher, do me a favor. When we do go off, I want you to go ahead and send me the links to all of your in my message so I can promote it. Because you see down below, I got a little ticker, and I want to actually promote that. That is one way that I can promote and help people, you know, and you can help them once they get over there. So just send me all your links so I can go ahead and start promoting it and pushing.
Where do you how do you want me to send you those links?
Through my Facebook message.
Cool. All right. I'll send them all to you. All right, wifey's give me that look, so I gotta basically go grab our son. Okay.
Hey man, thank you, man, for giving us your time. This has been an awesome show, man. God bless you, and we'll see you again. Okay. Thank you, Christopher.
Anytime. God bless you as well, man. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. I'm so sick and tired. I mean, rap, hip hop, entertainment, it has its place. I mean, I'll just be honest. Jay-Z, LeBron, they got their place. That's an element of our culture, and I'm happy that it exists. But I love seeing brothers that are talking about more than just hip hop or Cardi B's song or what Meg Thee Stallion just got done saying. I love seeing our people talking about family, fitness, finances, and basically building wealth. So whenever I see YouTube channels like yours, bro, I mean, I love doing this because you guys are the ones that I want to talk to. I can talk rap all day. I can talk hip hop all day. I can talk entertainment all day. But this is the kind of stuff to me that's going to advance our community forward. So I'll definitely be sending you all my links and everything so people can get in touch with me. Everyone book a one-on-one session, invest into yourself. And I promise you, the amount of money you spend for me to teach you how to build wealth, I will literally quadruple your income in less than 3 years. So I'll quadruple your investments, in less than 3 years. So book a one-on-one session with me, everybody. And I'll just walk you through kind of the systems that work. And it works for the 0.1%. It will work for you.
Thank you, Christopher, man. You have been a blast. Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you as well. I'm sending you those links now. All right, take it easy.
All right, awesome. Peace.